Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining Paul and I. We've had Paul before on the Divorce Magazine YouTube channel. If you haven't seen some of the interviews we've had with Paul, please do go on the Divorce Magazine YouTube channel and they're going to be all there. My name is Soila. I'm the founding editor of the Divorce Magazine and I'm a parenting therapist as well. So if you have any issues if you're going through a divorce or separation and you have any issues or concerns about your children, do get in touch with me and we can see how we can work through this moment of transition for you and your family and your children. So hi, Paul.
Hi, Soila. Good afternoon.
Hi. Maybe you can tell the ones who haven't met you yet what it is that you do.
Well, I'm the Principal Director of Albert Square Mediation Limited, and we offer a wide variety of mediation and other services, including coaching and training and arbitration and adjudication, such things. Mm-hmm. I'm a family mediator in a sense. I no longer offer a service to people who are divorcing or who have childcare-related disputes, but I do have a speciality in dealing with unmarried couples where there is a property issue.
And and this is what we'll be talking about today, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
And this is what we will be talking about today, about, unmarried couples who have got issues when they're going through separation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we have talked about cohabitation before, or we have articles on the Divorce Magazine about cohabitation and prenups and so forth. But when speaking with you, there's something else, that there's a different area that not necessarily has not been spoken about, but you would like to put across to people who are in this situation.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I actually started my legal life all those years ago as a conveyancer. And very often we would have couples buying houses who were not married.
Okay.
They're getting on fine and dandy then, but they were buying these houses between them, or in some cases it was in the name of one and the other was effectively making contributions. And a lot of these folks made no provision. They had nothing down in writing. Nothing was legal. So they were just basically there. And there was a sort of presumption they may have a 50-50 interest, but no one really knew. And we used to urge them, as I think solicitors should do, to resolve that and to instruct us to get something down in writing that could be formally recorded and registered at the land registry. In many cases, people didn't. Oh, we're getting on fine, they'd say. But I can remember one particular case got very messy. The couple were engaged, so they weren't married, and they bought the property. I don't even think they'd moved in. And I think the only thing that stopped it being messy was that, although they were committed to the purchase, they were only about 3 weeks in. And we had to do a deal with the vendor, which extracted them from it. But they'd suddenly gone from being all sweetness and light to being the complete opposite. And what do? We've made no provision for this. What would happen? What would have happened if this had happened 3 years down the line? Because I think in those
3 months down the line.
Yeah, I mean, they said what would happen if this happened when we were 3 years into this occupancy, into this relationship, or right, they were engaged, but there was no actual plan to get married. So it was brought home to me at a very early age, and I still feel that people don't do that. I mean, ironically, we talk about prenups before people get married, but in a sense, the idea of a prenup is something that unmarried people really need. And I can think of any number of cases where that would have saved the day.
Yeah.
Because even waiting for these things can be difficult.
Yes. There was something somebody said once when we were talking about prenups. And one of the people in the group where we were happened to mention that she felt that prenups, she wasn't alone actually, that prenups are quite unromantic. It's not something that you want to bring up with your future husband or your future wife or your boyfriend or somebody you're living with. But somebody made a really good point, and she said there's nothing as romantic as a prenup. because you actually make sure that you're both okay. You're looking after one another. Should the event be that you come away, without each other at some point.
Well, in a sense signifies the commitment.
Mm.
I mean, things can go wrong for all sorts of reasons. I mean, what happens if one of the people becomes mentally incapable?
Yeah.
If the couple aren't married, let's say the man, has an accident, he's in a coma. Let's say he will effectively not have capacity for the rest of his life. If there's no provision for these things, what does his unmarried spouse do if his relatives come knocking on the door?
So what would you suggest they do, Paul?
Well, I would suggest, let's say that you and I are unmarried, we're buying a house today.
Yeah.
We should, when we hand over the money on completion and we sign the transfer deed and the mortgage deed and what have you, we should be signing a trust deed that says this house, Greenacre, is bought by Paul and Soiler, and we have a 50-50 interest in it. And it should, for the benefit of the lawyers listening to us, that specify the tenants in common or joint tenants. And it should, you can't allow for every possibility, but it should specify as to what would happen. If I die and there are children, or not children, what will happen?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that could probably be kept under review. It's a bit like making a will.
That's what I was thinking as you were speaking.
Yeah, everybody should make wills. I'm going to have to renew mine. One of my executors is now 83 years old.
Okay.
So if I die, my affairs would be left with an 83-year-old who's probably not up to it,
mm-hmm.
or 85, actually. Yeah. And actually, at the moment, there's no one else appointed in his place. Okay. So it would create a real headache for people. Okay. So the same sort of principles apply to these. And it really doesn't have to be a big deal.
I was just about to ask. It sounds like it's a clause that would be included in the paperwork that you have, that you exchange, that the lawyers.
Maybe a couple of clauses, but no, it can be incredibly simple. I mean, most wills are simple, unless the people involved have incredible amounts of money and there are very complex trust clauses for underage children, and that sort of thing. That most wills are dead easy.
Okay.
And they shouldn't be expensive to do. And if people are frightened of the cost of this, they should get a quote from the solicitors. And if they think it's too much, find another solicitor who will do it for them at a reasonable rate.
And that is just, it's really, it's not a prenup, because maybe they're not ever thinking of getting married. It would be a pre-cohabitation, pre-cohab.
I don't know what you call it. I just used prenup because I couldn't think of anything else to say.
Yeah.
But I think, if I did nothing else this year in terms of advising people, that's probably the best piece of advice I could give people.
Okay. All right. I understand what you're saying. And as I mentioned to you earlier before the interview started, the fact that, my daughter, the one who's 25, and her friends are now beginning to, meet their future partners, future husbands. A couple of them have bought houses with this person. And it's I think it's quite an important piece of paper to have, because it does cover you.
Absolutely.
Is it legally binding?
Well, yes, it is. Yeah, it's effectively a deed of trust. So yes, it is legally binding, and it can only be unbound by the parties agreeing. But you can change it. It's easily enough. It's easy enough to do.
Okay. Great. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Paul. That was really interesting. Is there, if anybody wanted to find out a little bit more about this agreement, this pre-cohabitation agreement or something, where can they find you? Well,
they can find me on my website, on the Albert Square Mediation website. If they just Google Albert Square Mediation. I'm not actually giving a legal service as such.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, most firms of solicitors that offer a family or a conveyancing service ought to be able to deal with this.
Okay, all right.
In my day, solicitors did it quite routinely, so I don't see it's an issue. I don't think you need to go to a specialist.
Okay.
I mean, the firm that has my family supervisor in it, they're a sort of smallish, medium-sized family stuff commercial firm, and they would do it routinely, and I'm sure most firms of that size would.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed today again, Paul.
Thank you for asking me to participate.
Thanks. So if you haven't subscribed to the Divorce Magazine YouTube channel, please do. There's a button there that just says subscribe. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to know a little bit more about the kind of work that we do or the kind of articles we have, do visit the divorcemagazine.co.uk website. There are plenty of articles there covering, I would say, every aspect of divorce and separation, from children, from cohabitation agreements like we have just spoken about, to moving forward, to dating, all of this. So we have a lot on the divorcemagazine.co.uk website. Okay, thank you, Paul, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye then. Bye.